Chapter 13.
"No, not like that," Rome said in exasperation. "You's doing it wrongs." "No's we aren't," Jade grumbled, standing up and putting her hands on her hips. "We's going to go makes our own booby traps. Yours are too complicated." "That means they's too hard," Amber informed him. "I's knows what it means. My mommy and daddy uses big words too," Rome growled, pulling on the short jump rope. "I's need more buckets." "We's going to go get mommy's old cloner to make stuff," Jade said, turning. "Don't let's the grown-ups sees you," Zohar replied, balancing one of Jade and Amber's buckets of minions above the entrance to the library. "Moves me that way, Goldie."
The golden symbiote slid to the left a few inches and stopped. All around the castle, the small teams of dragonlings and their friends worked with the symbiotes to prepare for the queen's arrival that night.
"My booby traps are knots too hard," Rome muttered under his breath when the twins took off. "They's just don't know how's to make them's right." "I thinks they are brilliant," Balin said with a grin. "My mommy uses big words too. She calls me that's all the time." "My mommy says it to my daddy, but I don't think she means it," Rome replied, with a shake of his head. "Mommy says, 'Brilliant, Vox, just brilliant,' mostly afters we break something when we are playings," he added, imitating his mother's voice. "I's done with these ones," Zohar said, motioning for Goldie to lower him back to the floor. "I's going to go check on Spring." "I's going to goes to the dancing room when I's finished. Balin's booby-trapping the forest, Alice is in the kitchen, and Jabir's putting his pets in the gardens," Rome said, turning to reach for another rope. "Where's Phoenix?" Zohar asked. "She's booby-trapping the attic," Rome called out.
Zohar shifted into his dragon when he and Goldie passed through the doorway and into the hidden corridor. The corridors were the ones Auntie Kara and his mommy always used to get from one part of the castle to the other. Over the past year, he and the other dragonlings had fun playing there. His mom said that they were secret and that no one else but the workers knew about them. Goldie moved silently beside him, opening the doors before he reached them so that he didn't need to stop and shift again. He turned and focused on the soft sound of Spring's voice. He slowed and shifted back to his two-legged form when he neared the doorway leading to the dungeons. Behind the door he could hear Spring singing a song.
"Welcome to Halloween, where ghosts and goblins dance with glee. Tonight it is the time to see how Jack and Sally fight the queen." "I's likes that song, Spring. It's pretty," Zohar said.
Spring turned in a quick circle, releasing a startled squeak. Zohar saw her glare at Harvey, who snickered. His Aunt Carmen and Uncle Creon's symbiote was half the size of Goldie. Zohar knew the other half would be with Phoenix. Beside Spring, a smaller symbiote was weaving back and forth through the air. Zohar watched for several long seconds, seeing the thin, almost transparent threads turn a soft, glowing white.
"What's that?" he asked with curiosity. "Dirty worm silk," Spring replied, staring up at the mesh above the tracks. "I's remembered what you said when you drews out the map of the castle. The queen will have to rides the magic chairs to the thrones. If the queen gets throughs the doors, then she's goings to comes here first. I's found dirty worms when I's digging. They makes really sticky, glowy strings that's fun to plays with, but isn't easy to gets off unless as you knows how. Mommy makes me take lots of baths when I's plays with it, but I's know how to gets it offs me really easy." "Does you need help?" Zohar asked, touching a thread of the silky web. His eyes widened when he tried to pull his hand back and found it difficult to pull away. When he finally did, his finger was glowing and sticky. "Look at this!" he exclaimed, giggling when tiny flashes of light flashed between his fingers. "I knows! I told you it was fun," Spring said. "You gots to rub your fingers together to gets it off, likes this."
Zohar watched as Spring stuck one hand in the bucket of webs and swirled it around. When she pulled her hand out, it was covered with the sticky threads. She used her other hand and gently rubbed at the threads. As she did, the threads dissolved.
If yous tries to makes it come off, it gets stickier, she explained. Yous got to be nice to make it disappears, or it takes lots and lots of bubbly baths.
Zohar gently brushed his palm with the fingers of his opposite hand and watched the threads rise up and vanish. He grinned and looked at Spring. This was better than the tickle bugs that Jabir got Rome with.
I's going to go sees how Balint is doings in the forest. Comes to the Queen's big chair room when you are done, he said,
turning and shifting again.
I's will,
Spring called after him, before she started singing again while her symbiote continued to spread the silky webs. Balint carefully wrapped the end of the thin rope around the tree and tied it like his Grandpa Paul had showed him. Once he was done, he shifted and flew down to the floor. The forest looked different when all the lights were on. It didn't look scary at all. The faces formed onto the trees were all frozen. Some of the faces had their eyes open, and their mouths were open like some of the statues in the upper garden and ballroom, while others were closed, as if in slumber. Out of all the rooms in the castle, this was his favorite one because it reminded him of the great forests outside the city where Grandpa Paul, his mom, and Dad liked to take him to explore. Only there, the trees didn't talk and sing like these did.
Balint, where's are you?
Zohar's familiar voice called out.
I's over here,
Balint responded, shifting and running toward the sound of Zohar's voice.
Here's I am. Are you done's yet?
Zohar asked, looking around the forest with a frown.
I don't see your booby traps. You's not supposed to see thems, Balint replied. They's up there.
Balint pointed upward.
Bio is coverings them now, he said. What's they supposed to do? Zohar asked with a frown. I's put mud shooters in thems. When the Queen's chair comes under them, it pulls the ropes and shoots muddy dots. Uncle Dulcie made me one, so I could plays with Grandpa Paul in the woods and tags him. Jade and Amber clones me more of them to use in here, Balint explained. I wants to place tag with mud shooters, Zohar exclaimed with a grin.
So's do Jade and Amber, Balint replied, wrinkling up his nose.
We's gonna needs a bigger forest if they plays.
Zohar nodded.
I's goings to go see what's Jabar's doing. Do yous wants to come? He asked. Yes! Bio, let's go find Jabir, Balint called out.
In a flash, the huge symbiote landed on silent feet next to Goldie and the two boys. The two symbiotes shimmered, communicating with each other. The boys could tell that the symbiotes were having fun from their colors.
I's race you,
Balint said excitedly, shifting into his small purple and gold dragon. Zohar shifted back into his dark brown and copper-colored one. The two boys raced through the corridors, getting help from their attentive babysitters to pass through closed doors. Deep down, he could feel the excitement building as their plans to stop the Queen from stealing the babies took shape.